So that comes to the next point. They don't want to work harder than they have to. Now, granted, when I say they're lazy, this does not mean they're all lazy and they all sit at home and eat bonbons and watch TV all day. Some may, but they're very dedicated. I will say that. The question comes into, though, is if they don't have to work hard to get the information, they're not going to. It's human nature, right? I will take the least easy or the most easiest. That's not even really a good word. The point of least resistance when I'm going on doing anything. Same with these guys and gals. So when it comes to accounts, this is the most common attack point for hackers. They will focus on your administrator account because if they can get this account, it's like having godlike credentials within your WordPress website. The super admin for when you're dealing with multi-site networks or multi-site WordPress installations, but that is what they're looking for. So you need to really take good care of that account so that it isn't just real accessible. It isn't easy. You don't keep the admin as admin and password, right? Or whatever password. Now, the wonderful thing about WordPress is that they've done some changes, is that they have forced long, complex passwords, which is good, but it also adds a level of complexity in the fact that now you need a place to store those, which we'll get into in later lessons and podcasts and so forth. But the bottom line is that you need to have a long password. When it comes to dealing with the editor has full control of the content. So the editor is one step down from the admin, and that's really a good place to be if you're going to be adding in content that you really want to have full control of. You don't want to log in as the administrator if you can avoid it, and if you want to, unless you have to make some changes to your WordPress website. But if you're putting out content, the editor is a really good place to be. The author, contributor, and subscriber, they all have different aspects to them that have less capability, and there's definitely less rights. And it comes down to is what is your goal for your WordPress website. So if you've got a lot of people contributing to it, maybe you set them all up as contributors. But this is where you have to control the access to your site. And it's no different in your WordPress website than a large enterprise that's global. You've got to manage your accounts. And if you can manage those well, you're in a much better position to protect your WordPress website. So administrators, this is the most powerful of all of the accounts. And we kind of talked about like having the God credentials because it's going to install, it can edit, it can delete plugins as well as themes. So it can do all of those things. The other thing that it can really do that is a big deal in my mind is it can add users and change information about them. So how does this play into it? Well, let's just say someone gets a hold of your website and they are in the process of hacking it, right? Well, what they'll end up doing is they will usually, if they're worth their salt, they will make another account. It may be hidden, it may be in ways that you wouldn't know where to look for it, but they'll have another account made. And this other account will just be an admin account that may look kind of innocuous. It may not be one that you really understand. And if you have a lot of users logging onto your WordPress website, they'll hide it amongst those other users so you won't see it, or you'll pass by it real quickly. So it's really important that you look for those and you understand all those accounts and that you control any of the admins and even the editors that are put onto your account or onto your WordPress website. If you can do that, then if someone does hack into it and tries to put in an account to come back at a later time, it'll be gone. You'll take care of it. So you need to be wary of that. That's one of the first things they do, is that if you get access to a site, is that you build credentials for yourself as a hacker so that you can gain access to the site at a later time. So this is really, again, multi-user sites, this is where it can be a big challenge because they can hide in plain sight. Also, avoid the label admin. Label your administrator account to something else. So you might want to think about that. So here's a question that comes up. Do you give admin rights to a plugin developer? And well, it goes yes and no and maybe, right? So the reason I say that is that you do not want to give admin rights to your production site to a developer. So you're going, well, what is the difference between that? So just a real quick digression. You'll have a production site, which is what the world sees. You'll also have a testing site as you get bigger. And the testing site can just be a subdomain. So like if you've got www.mysite.com, You could have test.mysite.com, and that's your test site. And that's where maybe you test out all of the different things that go on with your WordPress website. So what you may want to do is just a thought, food for thought. Again, I am giving it from a background of security, and it may or may not work in your situation. But giving them access to a testing or environment or a development environment, and letting them make changes there is a better solution than giving them access to your full domain. And the reason is because once they have admin credentials, again, they have God credentials, and they can do a lot with that. So just something to consider. I know that's WordPress 201 and 301 kind of talk, but something to consider as you go forward is giving admin access to your WordPress website, the production website, is not necessarily the best idea. However, if they have something that you want to make a plugin and they need to test it, or whatever piece of code, then you can have them do it on your test site or development site. So I hope that makes sense. So when you create a new admin account, you need to make the name unrecognizable. So as an example is, I got NER84ZI, something like that, right? You could make it whatever thing you want to do. The point is that you don't want to make it Bill or Bill's admin, or if this is the best account because it controls everything, or God account. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because the point is they're going to keep looking for that. Just make it an account that only you know what it is, and then store it in a password manager or a password vault. And we'll, in future episodes and training, we'll have that. We'll go into those, what you need to be considered with that. However, you need to, don't store it on your desktop. If at a minimum, this isn't at a minimum, put it in an Excel spreadsheet and password protect it. Okay, that's at a minimum. I don't recommend that per se, because if that computer where you put it on blows up and there's nothing left, your kids spill pop all over it and nuke it, then you're out of luck. But at a minimum, put it in an Excel spreadsheet with a password. But ideally, you'd put it in a password manager, a good solid password manager in the cloud that you can get access to anytime. Okay. Delete, downgrade the old admin account. So you need to, when you go and you get your WordPress website set up, and I've got training back at wpsecuritydaily.com on how to go through this, and we'll have step-by-step training in the content at the site that you can just walk through what you need to do that. But you need to delete, downgrade the old admin. So once you create an admin account, so you go in and you create one, then you need to delete the old one. Okay, but once you delete it, you have to then attribute all the content that you created under this admin to the new admin. If you don't, you'll lose all your content. So we have steps at WP Security Daily to go through that. But bottom line is, you don't want the admin account that came with WordPress still active. Okay, you want to create a new one, rename it to something goofy, and then delete the old one. And then use your editor and author role when you can.